Welcome to the Generation Elevation podcast, a conscious, connected platform for those who are ready to manifest their dream life. I'm your host, Elise Riley, a former PT, now motivational speaker, igniting empowerment and transformation all across the globe. Here at Generation Elevation, we are committed to bringing you the most inspiring guests who will share their stories, wisdom, and advice to help you progress closer to living a life of your own terms. What's going on, guys? Today's episode is going to be all about the 21 things I learned from the year 2021. As we are coming to the end of such a crazy year, I thought what better than to do an episode on some major lessons that I learned personally this year. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number one, a massive lesson I learnt this year is the answers you are looking for are within yourself. And if you sit still and listen to the whispers, the answer that you're looking for will come to you. Now, this might sound a little bit strange. However, I would find myself in situations where I would be getting a little bit anxious about the future, or if I was worrying about anything that was to come or needed an answer about what decision to make. As soon as I actually sat still and asked my unconscious mind for the answers and meditated on specific topics or questions or things that I was searching for, an idea or like a vision or just an inner knowing of what I needed to do next would come. And this was something that was a huge breakthrough for me when I was going through my separation from my ex, as I had constant anxiety, push and pull of whether I stay or go. And when I actually sat and meditated and just stood still for a few days, the answer came to me. So that is a huge lesson that I learned this year as well. Number two, never apologize for anything that you do. Instead, be thankful and switch sorry, I'm late for thank you for waiting for me. So rather than saying sorry, I found in the past I would potentially move into someone else's space. I wouldn't even touch them. And I would be like, sorry, I'm just going to grab this. And if you're listening, you might be resonating when I say that as well. And I question myself on this. Why am I saying sorry for just being in the presence of someone? So now, instead of saying sorry, I actually catch myself out and say that I'm sexy instead, which has been really cool because whenever I say I'm sorry, I go, did I just say I'm sorry? I meant I'm sexy. And it's allowing myself to practice catching that language out and calling myself out when I do say it, so then I can switch it around, because rarely I'm ever sorry for what I'm actually doing, because it might be that I accidentally bumped into someone or I'm just moving into the space and I was saying it an unnecessary amount of times. So saying thank you and expressing appreciation for others instead of saying I'm sorry. Number three, you don't think, you know. So for me, this is a really important lesson I learned this year, as I would always be in conversations with people and noticed myself saying, I think this, or I think this person feels this, or I think I feel this, or I think this is going to happen. And I was getting these inner knowings and visions and like clairvoyant, I guess, images. And I would be telling myself, I think this. And the issue with that is I was second guessing and questioning my own inner knowing. And therefore it was like almost a distrust between myself and like my higher self. So whenever you find you keep saying, I think this, switch it to I know, because even if it's not 100% certain, if you find that you like have a good feeling about something, then you're more than likely right. Number 4, success looks and feels different to everyone. Make sure you are striving for your own version of success, not everyone else's idea of it. This one is important to me, especially because for me, my success this year has been shifting my entire business from a face-to-face personal trainer to completely online with training, nutrition, and mindset coaching. So I went completely online, and with my family, their idea of success was go to uni, get a job and work 9 to 5, save up, build a house and have a white picket fence. And for me, I'm like, nope, I'm going to work all online. I'm going to live by the water. I'm going to move to the Gold Coast, and I am just that's going to be my version of success. So making sure you're following your version of success, not anyone else's. Number 5, the meaning of life is to give life meaning and live every moment as if it was your last. In the past, I would say no to opportunities that would come up in the hope that something better would come along, or I just didn't believe that I deserved it or worked hard enough, and I thought, how could it be so easy? If someone offers you help or offers you their help in order for a favor or whatever, accept it. Even if someone offers you a compliment, making sure that you receive that fully, because if someone's offering you something, they are genuinely doing it to give. And by refusing that offer, majority of the time you do that person a disservice by stopping them from wanting to give. Number 6, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. And the hardest no's can actually be the ones that are closest to a yes. So there were a few decisions this year that I had to make. It was kind of like shiny object syndrome, where these opportunities were popping up right in front of my face and they all sounded and looked really great. However, when I deeply reflected on where my life would track to if I chose each option, a lot of the options were leading me away from my overall mission, which is generation elevation. And if I was to go and choose those yeses that weren't actually a fuck yes, then I would be saying no to my mission. And for me, that just wasn't in alignment, and therefore it was a no. And it was also a really hard no because it was close to a yes. Number 7, spend more time with the people that leave you feeling more energized and safe to be your authentic self. Your vibe will attract your tribe. This is something that has really resonated for me this year. I moved from Melbourne, or country Melbourne, in May, and I moved to Gold Coast, Australia. So I moved interstate in May this year, and my friendship group has really, really molded and changed quite dramatically, and I've attracted a lot of different people into my life than what I had back down in Melbourne. And not saying that anyone in Melbourne that was my friend didn't align with me. However, at the time, I was in a very different headspace to where I am now. And as soon as I changed that vibe, especially being up in Queensland, the sun, the beach, and just moving all my business online, enjoying making money while not really having to show up anywhere apart from social media was epic. So I started to attract a different vibe, and I got really confident within myself and really focused on my mission and where I was heading. And then I noticed I started to attract similar people who were into the same things as me, were into conversations about consciousness and elevation and ascension. And I started to attract communities of people that were super confident in themselves, who were super celebratory of my wins and their wins. So it started to really shift and change. And I really noticed how when you do vibe higher, you might find that friends will drop off. However, when one door closes, several others open. And honestly, nothing rings more true to me than that this year. When you say no is number 8, you say yes to yourself. Oh, this is something that is so powerful to me, as in the past, I was a huge people pleaser, and I'm thinking about doing a whole entire separate podcast on people pleasing, as this is something that I notice, especially with a lot of clients that come through the door with me, is that they put everyone else first before themselves. And I come from a family that would do that as well. And bless their souls, I love them so very much. However, I learned that through modeling that to receive love, I would need to make sure I make everyone else happy first and prioritize them first before then I worry about myself. And my heart and intentions are pure. However, perception is projection. So whenever you're putting anyone else first before yourself, that's going to be mirrored back to you in your external reality, and therefore everyone else around you will be putting you last also. So that was ringing true for me. And as soon as I started saying no and to other people and saying yes to myself and the things that I wanted to do, that's when I gained a lot more respect and appreciation from the people around me. Number 9, the language that you use to label your experience is how you will live it. Use your words wisely. What this means basically is that we all have a story, and there could be 5 people witnessing the same situation and there'd be 5 different stories. So it's all about perspective and how you perceive things. So someone might perceive a situation as extremely bad and the worst thing that ever happened to them, and another person could label that experience as the best thing that happened for them. So it's really just having a look at different perspectives and choosing how you label your life, because when you label things a certain way, that's what your focus is at, and that's what will expand, which is number 10. What you focus on expands. So be careful where your thoughts lie. If you're focusing on all the negative situations and worst case scenario, that is what you're going to experience, because that is all that you are seeing. However, if you're actually focusing on, oh, you know what? Even though that was a challenging time, it's been the best thing for me because I learnt this, and seeing the positive perspective or intention around something that may have challenged or triggered you, that is what you're going to then experience, and that is then going to expand the positive aspect of things. This morning I actually went for a walk and I was thinking about this, how in the past, I would be walking and I'd be searching, my reticular activating system in my brain would be searching for the negative things that were going on, or something that would trigger me or make me angry, or vice versa. I was very much so at effect of the world. This morning, however, I was just on my walk and I looked up at this woman and just gave her the brightest smile, like she was my grandma or something. And I was just so happy. Whereas in the past, I probably would have not made eye contact and looked at the floor completely and ignored her. However, I could have made her day by just giving her a smile. And that's what I mean by just focusing on the brighter side of things, because that's what's going to expand and set the tone for your whole day, the whole life. Number 11, there are results or there are reasons. So this is something that I recently learned through the NLP world. You can either be at cause of your life or at effect. And if you look around the world in your close circles and things like that, majority of the time you may notice that there are a lot of people at effect. And what that means is that the world is happening to them, and it's very much a victim mindset. However, people that are at cause don't have excuses. And instead of thinking about how the world is happening to them, they are thinking about how the world is happening for them. And these are the people that get results in life. Number 12, you are in your own lane and on your own journey. Comparison is the thief of joy, and when you are feeling triggered by the success of others, you are manifesting that opportunity is scarce and limited. In the past, I actually was super competitive and would compare myself to people in my circle all the time. And when I did that, I would then make other people's success mean that I wasn't good enough, and therefore I had to work harder and harder, and I'd be super, super hard on myself. And this just left me feeling deflated and on edge around friends all the time. I really struggled to celebrate their wins because I wasn't celebrating my own wins, and I was too busy worrying about how I could get ahead in front of them, when actually realizing that the competition between us was created within my own self, and therefore I was manifesting limited opportunities. As soon as I let that shit go and started focusing on my lane, my journey, and my mission, that is when an abundance of opportunities started coming my way. Number 13, your external reality is a mirror of your internal reality. There it is. I've been talking about this and hinting it through a lot of the lessons so far. And basically, we desperately want to be loved and respected by others. However, this will only happen until we have love and respect for ourselves first, because perception is projection. What's going on within us is then being mirrored back to us outside of ourselves. So if you are struggling with self-love and you have that inner bully in your head telling you you're not good enough and that you're fat or that you are never going to be successful, because I had this in the past, and then I was wondering why I was getting bullied. When I actually cut that out and started treating myself with some love and respect, that is when the people in my circles started to treat me differently, because I started to treat me differently. So whenever there's a triggering situation in your life, always ask yourself, how is this me? And when you change it within yourself, that's then projected externally as well. Number 14, you will only receive what you believe you are worthy of. In the past, I used to struggle so hard with charging what I'm worth. I used to run sessions for free and they weren't meant to be free. However, I ran the session, they didn't pay me, and I wouldn't chase up the money because, I'm not worth it. And so therefore I wouldn't receive money for working, and I'd do free jobs that weren't supposed to be free because I didn't believe I was good enough to be charging what I am worth. So if you're a coach or a personal trainer and you are undercharging yourself, you will know if you're undercharging yourself because either your clients won't be committed or you won't be committed because of the price. If this is the case, up your rates and charge what you are worth. Seriously, people won't even blink an eye, because when you realize that you are good enough to charge what you are worth and you're worthy to receive, everyone else around you will have no worries giving you what you deserve. Number 15. If there is fear or resistance towards something outside of yourself, ask, how did I create this, or how is this me, as there's an opportunity to transform and grow. I feel like a lot of these are blending in with each other around the perception is projection. And this one is a really great way to switch from being at the effect of the world to cause. As what I said before, there's either excuses and reasons or results. And as soon as you ask yourself, how did I create this? Or how is this me? Then when you clear it up within yourself, you'll find it's like magic, and the situation in your external reality will most likely no longer challenge or trigger you anymore. Number 16, what triggers you in others is showing you parts within yourself that you have rejected or suppressed and that you wish to subconsciously show to the external world. This is a really interesting topic, as at the start of the year, I used to get really triggered by people on social media who were showing up constantly and sharing their voice, sharing their confidence, and especially confident women. They used to trigger the fuck out of me. And actually realizing that I was being triggered by those women because that is what I wanted within myself. That's what I wanted for me. And therefore, because I was suppressing that part of my personality, I was then feeling that uncomfortability within my soul. 17, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness of them. So as you listen to this podcast right now, ask yourself, do you hear a voice that is not mine speaking to you right now? But as you think about things, are you hearing a voice? And when you think about things in your life, do you have a voice speaking to you? For me in the past, I used to have these voices in my head. Like when I would read, I would have a voice in my head reading back the words to me. Or when I would think something, I'd be saying something in my head, right? And I thought that that voice was me. And one day, I think it was 2020, early 2020, when I was going through the start of my personal development journey and getting back into reading again, I come across Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth. And I read a passage in that book that said, you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness of them. And my mind went nuts. I was like, are you serious? This is crazy. And so every time I started to listen to my ego, that voice in my head, I would catch it out and I would realize that that thing that is the awareness of that voice was me. Because if that wasn't me, then how would I be able to articulate that there's a voice in my head? Hopefully that makes sense. If not, definitely go read Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth. It honestly changed my life. Number 18, the unknown is where all the magical things are created. Surrender and trust. Be in the present moment always. All we ever have is right now. Like when I say now, that's no longer now because now has moved and it's a constant moving point in time. If you're familiar with Joe Dispenza's work, he talks all about getting into the present moment, because when you're in the present moment, you go beyond your physical, emotional body, you go beyond time, and you go beyond your environment. And when you do that, you're able to create your experience. You're able to go into the quantum field and create and draw in the things that you want to your reality, which is really cool. And if you are not aware of Joe Dispenza's work, definitely go check out his Rewired series on Gaia or his books. He's an absolute wizard. Number 19, do more of what makes you feel good, as life is too short to be in a job you hate, in an unhappy relationship, making sure everyone else is happy first. When you put yourself first, everybody wins. And I feel like all of these are coming down to perception is projection, because when you feel like a winner, everything else in your life will start to represent that as well. And you'll find that you might just win like random competitions. You might find that people are doing odd favors for you that are just really like going out of their way to just give you something or things like that. Because when you give to yourself and put yourself first, then you might find that you'll have more energy and you'll be able to show up better for everyone else in your reality. Like, I know when I get up in the morning, I put myself first, I do my self-care routine, I go to the gym, I move my body, I nourish my body and fuel it with organic local produce. And when I've done that, that's when I then go and book in appointments with clients. And I know I show up better as I've put myself first for that day. Number 20, switching your what if and imagining the worst case scenario to what if it's the best case scenario. In the past, I had that ego, that voice in my head say, what if this is the worst thing that you'll ever do in your life? Like, what if this is the worst decision? What if this happens? Blah, 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 blah. And when I switched that around to what if this is the best thing that will ever happen in my life, that created my mind to think about all the endless opportunities that are ahead of me. And it made it really easy to then go and make decisions from there. So if you're in a situation where you're thinking about what if worst case scenario, switch it around and see what happens. Because when I did that, I ended a 5-year relationship. I moved to Queensland by myself and I shifted my whole business online. Number 21, if you can think it, you can create it. Honestly, my life right now was just a thought at the start of the year. I thought about moving to Queensland. I thought about moving my whole business online. I thought about exactly where I wanted to live. I thought about exactly how much I wanted to pay in rent. I thought about speaking in front of 100 people on stage. I thought about the exact amount of money that I wanted to make. I thought about creating a podcast. And now here I am doing all of that. Doing absolutely all of that. And that is just so incredibly amazing. Because at the start of the year, this was all a thought, which gets me so excited, because now I know that if I can think it, I can create it. And what I'm thinking about now is fucking so exciting. And I know 2022 is going to be epic, because what I think about, I create. And this year has been proof to that. So that is the end. My 21 lessons that I have learned from 2021. I will pop them all in the show notes, and I will also put a link to my free Facebook group where I'm creating a community for those who listen to Generation Elevation, where I will be jumping in every week and doing some Q&As and posts regularly, connecting with you all on a one-on-one basis, and discussing all the topics that we have spoken about here today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I am super grateful for each and every one of you listening here today, and I look forward to catching you in the next episode. Lots of love. Thank you for being a part of the Generation Elevation community. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to leave a 5-star rating, written review, share, and tag me on Instagram at elise.riley. Until next time, keep loving, keep learning, and keep rising.